Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday. Thank you all for joining. We're going to recap the week and everything that's happened so far. So I hope everybody is doing good. And let me know if there's a problem with anything. But the crypto market cap is literally super shy of just $2 trillion. Volume, 60 billion, which isn't bad for a Saturday. Dominance, whatever. Fear and greed is still up in the high 70s. I think it's 76. And best performing sector is storage. We'll talk a bit about storage and the changes in the storage world. And I always say, keep your tap dancing shoes because this market moves fast. Assets move fast. Variables change, which can impact your decisions. You may plan on holding something for a year, but all of a sudden something changes. You got to change plans. So anyway, thank you all for coming. And thank you to the mods in the chat. And I see people from all over the world, including Beijing, China. So let's jump in. And now this is financial advice. Story I mentioned already. Let's look at this, though. The actual market over the last week, we saw a lot of activity across some names. Ethereum is up 0.07% over Bitcoin. And a couple of other names like Filecoin, dark green. Injective, dark green as well. And what's going on? Let's look at dollar terms. It tells a little bit of a different picture. Bitcoin down a shade. We'll chat more about that in a minute too. Solana down, Cardano down, XRP down, but only down like less than 1%. So all of a sudden, it wasn't a crazy bad week. It was kind of steady compared to the big moves we've had, especially with the impact of the ETF and everything else. So first of all, let's look at the halving because it's 59 days away, less than 60 days away, less than 2 months, ladies and gentlemen. Literally. The 17th of April, 2024 will be the day, plus or minus 1 or 2 days. But looking at Google Trends, this is interesting. I pulled up all the history, went back to 2015. As you can see, it was a little blip. Nobody knew what the Bitcoin halving was because very few followed it. 2020, a lot knew what was happening. 2024 will be very bonkers. In fact, interest, this is worldwide interest. But if you go to a place like Switzerland and Nigeria, they have the most interest in the Bitcoin halving right now. Weird mix of countries, but that's a fact. In addition, we know that the ETFs have been a huge hit. Hey, B-Man, the gold ETFs have 93 billion assets under management, and they've been around for nearly 20 years. Bitcoin ETFs already have 37 billion in assets under management, nearly 30% of the whole stack. It's only a matter of time before, literally, mark my words, I don't know when it's going to be, maybe this year. Could the ETFs hit 100 billion? My bull case was 50 billion. 50 billion. And now it looks like we're going to smash that too. So if they get to 100 billion, in fact, what's going to happen too is the gold is going to fall and Bitcoin will rise. So they'll meet somewhere in the middle, but I don't expect much money to go into gold as we go forward. In addition, regarding Bitcoin, before we get into the crypto stuff and the market stuff, during periods of extreme price volatility, especially ahead of the halving where we know upward movements are coming, it's important to have a quick check-in on the amount of Bitcoin supply that's available. Yesterday, I showed the OTC desks and they were very bare, very bare indeed. It was like less than 3,000 Bitcoin on the OTC desks, and that's disappears in a day. But knowing how much is theoretically available for trading, it's important to look at these two stats here. So you can't look at supply as well in a single metric. You need to look at many metrics. But this came from Crypto Slate, and they looked at a bunch of on-chain metrics, including UTXOs and accumulation addresses, to better get a feel for exactly what's tradable and how the supply is tightening. And you can see here, if you focus your eye on the green line and the red line, you will see these are the red line is the UTXO spend, and the green is the UTXO created. Both are down, which means very few now are actually selling, and unspent transaction outputs, UTXOs, are essential in understanding the Bitcoin network. UTXOs are the amount of Bitcoin that remains unspent and stored in a wallet after a transaction, and it's a fundamental indicator of Bitcoin's liquidity movements. And here, what's key is, I think around February 1st, the number of created UTXOs stood at 1.304 million, which decreased to 1.1 million in just 2 weeks. That is down hard. And the number of spent UTXOs remained relatively stable, and this drop suggests that there has been a decrease in the willingness to transfer Bitcoin between addresses, i.e. people are hodling, and it's becoming very scarce. In addition, due to the dip, and I have my own reasons and theories as to why Bitcoin dips so hard after a big day like Friday, but anyway, 120 million in longs were wrecked, most of them being shorts over the last 24 hours. Being longs, nearly 90 million in longs, 30 million in shorts. But those wicks, you got to be prepared for that. If you're playing this game, put plenty of capital down so you got massive fluctuations that you can weather, or else you're just throwing money away. And that's why everybody promotes these exchanges, so you can just throw your money away because they make your money. It's very sad. Anyway, this is what I call the Skim game, where the ETFs typically sell at 52.3, and then they get the T+1, which means they have to buy the Bitcoin a day later. And all of a sudden, the Bitcoin price falls from 52,300 all the way down to 50,600 today. And of course, we know it's going to rebound. And here we are, nearly at 51.5. Again, that is a big swing, a big move in a very short window of time. So again, I can't prove this. I'm just looking at the data and the chart, and it's been happening for a while. Anyway, moving on. This is from Michael Saylor, another big piece of news this week. He emphasized Bitcoin's role in transitioning wealth from analog to digital forms, which is vital for preserving wealth in the modern era. And he believes there are nearly $900 trillion in traditional assets that need some type of digital transformation. And he also referred to, I think, Bitcoin as economic energy, and its historical impact is like the Industrial Revolution. And remember, we have multiple revolutions coming. If I get a chance later, I will talk a bit about bots, but I'm also going to talk a bit about AI and what's now possible. We'll try to do a quick live demo from the machine. We'll see if it works. Now, Bitcoin versus the S&P 500, the rolling correlation, a beautiful chart from Joe Consorti. And obviously, we know some stocks trade. They have got infinite supply. Bitcoin doesn't. And the halving is just around the corner. And ETFs are buying 10 times the amount of Bitcoin that will be issued every day. And after the next halving, it'll be 20 times. All right, 20 times. But Bitcoin is still trading like a stock, and it's not a stock. I think that's the key message from this. The correlation should not be there. And I think Joe said Bitcoin has all the potential to get ready to explode once people figure this out. And I covered a lot of that in the ETF update this morning. Let's switch to crypto with all the stuff happening with Bitcoin. And not a huge news for crypto, but there is a lot of news today. To recap the week. First of all, let's look at what I call the L1, L2 deltas. I will also dig into a whole bunch of DAU activity as well. But ETH wins the price, wins for price this week. It did very well. And a lot of people feel that the ETF is coming in a matter of months. So that's extremely good for the actual position. And Avalanche, for stablecoins, Avalanche, Matic, and Near all win. I haven't had a week ever where three assets win at the exact same percentile at the same time in a week. So shout out to Avalanche, Matic, and Near. I'll talk more about Near and Avalanche after as well. Phantom wins commits. Arbitrum wins developers. Daily active addresses. Solana wins. Phantom falls 95% on daily active addresses. Not sure why. And daily transactions. Optimism wins. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Super Soul Man. Got some cool soul news coming for you too in a minute. So let's go now. SCP Profiler. There's a lot of talk about these new chains coming in, and they're better and they're going to disrupt everything. But let's look at some data here. So what I did was I put together a real live chart from our SCP Profiler of all the daily active addresses. I'll talk about Near. Near is top of the charts at 972,000, but there's a big exclamation mark beside Near. Solana is now number 2, 808,000 daily active users. Matic, 784, very impressive. ETH, 398. ZK Sync 330, that came up from nowhere 6 months ago. Arbitrum 150,000, Stark 147,000, and then Base, Optimism, Aptos. I think when you start getting down low though, like Avalanche has 50,000 daily active users, Cardano 47,000, Algorand 40,000. Then you got the new players, the Say 24,000, Sui 18,000. And ICP 6,000. Shout out to the ICP team. Phantom 4,000. That's one of the things we mentioned. Some of the chains are just falling off a cliff. And as with everything I always stress, the way of the world is the winner takes most, okay? In all industries. There is no industry where there's 20 that survive and do well. All right? Just please remember that, everybody. But let's look at the chart, because an interesting stat falls out of this. Basically, 5 chains have over 75%, over 76% of all the daily active users. Just 5 chains. And there are hundreds, thousands of chains out there. But 5, what matter right now. They are Near, Sol, Matic, ETH, and ZK Sync. And that is quite telling as to what's going on in the world. Now, let's talk about Near. I didn't mention it at the beginning because everybody says, why didn't you talk about Near? Well, one application, one dApp, literally does nearly 90% of all the daily active users, and that's a thing called Kaiching. It's a social/payments app out of Asia, and they have 843,000 active users as of the last 24 hours. So from the Near protocol, it's all one app, but that's sometimes what you need is one killer app as well. But anyway, that's good product market fit. But I like to see more breadth of dApps and more breadth of adoption across many different use cases to be a winning app, in my view. But you're free to do whatever you want, of course. Now, ETH, back to ETH. An ETH founder sells 10.7 million ahead of the ETH ETF. Who would do that? But there's a guy called, he's a co-founder, I think it's Jeffrey Wilk, transferred about 4,300 ETH, which is about nearly $11 million worth, to Kraken. And he sold it at 2,500, I think, per ETH, and it's a little higher than that now. And this significant sale has sparked speculation about the potential for an upcoming price correction. I don't think so going into the Bitcoin halving. I think ETH will be just fine. And we've seen some of the action there. And a lot of people know the ETH ETF is coming, which is going to be very helpful for the price action for ETH as well. Now, in some big news, it's been a while since I talked about crypto, so I'm very excited to get back. A while means like a couple of days. Excluding Bitcoin, of course. But in my black hole theory, Filecoin integrates with Solana. This is big breaking news. They've integrated with Solana for decentralized storage solutions to enhance the reliability and scalability of the Solana blockchain. That is big, 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 big news. And we've seen so many cases of chains kind of helping, coming over, integrating, and doing more stuff on Solana. A quick revisit, look at the list. You got Aave, Maker, Render, Circle, big stablecoin issuer, Visa, Paxos, PayPal, and now Filecoin. And this is the black hole that just keeps on. I shouldn't say giving, I should say bringing stuff in, bringing adoption, bringing users, bringing transactions. In fact, even Solana had a whole big burn as well this week because of a lot of activity. Not yet deflationary, but if there is enough adoption, it does flip. And I am trying to do some calculations as to when that tipping point could happen. Now, let's talk about another chain too. Jupiter is still growing fast, despite being the biggest airdrop and launch we've had so far in 2024. The fees are going through the roof because the usage is going through the roof. The fees are now about $3.2, $3.3 million, and it's tripled just in a week. More than tripled. And that's crazy activity. Again, black hole. The best PMF wins. And this will be a big shaker up to the whole DEX world as well, and DEX aggregator world. In addition, we always look at dumpage. Avalanche dumpage incoming on the 21st of Feb. Vesting contracts will release about 10 million Avalanche worth nearly $400 million. And this is from Finbold. And that's big news. And we'll see what happens. But it also is the biggest unlock coming over the next week or 2 weeks as well. And that will be massive. So be careful of price pressure on that too. In addition, this is a cool article again from Finbold. They are talking about the fact that 3 tokens will hit $100 billion in market cap in 2024. Guess what they are? Well, per this article, they believe it is Solana, number 1. Then XRP number 2, and Avalanche number 3. I'm not sure they, well, the impact of the dumpage will be quickly gone. But that is for the whole fiscal year 2024. $100 billion market cap is big. And remember, as the whole CMC market cap goes up, it'll rise all boats, even weed tokens. Now, speaking of Binance and CZ, a little bit of bad news for him. He now faces an 18 months in jail, prosecutors say. Accept the deal. Take it. Just go to jail and maybe get out 12 months for good behavior or something. But that's kind of shocking. One of the so-called top heads of crypto now faces jail time with a lot of the other people. And I think the world is a better place without this type of activity. So whatever they got on him, it sounds pretty serious. Now, speaking of stocks for the week, it was a mixed week with some exceptions. And we've noticed as well, Nvidia keeps on going up. Meta did really well. It's now $1.2 trillion market cap. Tesla had a very good week as well, up 3.5%, and it rebounded nicely. And it's, Tesla tends to run counter to some of the other names like Microsoft, Apple, and Google. They were all down 4%, 3.5%, and 6% for the week. TSM even fell 5% despite being tied at the hip to Nvidia. But and Lilly keeps on growing, the drug maker. Now let's look at the rankings of some of the biggest companies in the world. And this is important to see. The reason I like to look at this is you see the future of where other assets are going to go. And there was a time when, not too long ago, Apple made $1 trillion for the first time. Now we have Microsoft above $3 trillion, Apple 2.8, Saudi Aramco 2 trillion, Nvidia nearly 1.8 trillion. Nvidia is about to surpass Saudi Aramco. And we see that Amazon leapfrogged Google 1.76 and 1.75 trillion. And then Meta 1.2, Berkshire, Eli Lilly. By the way, the market cap of Bitcoin is higher than that of Berkshire. Yay. And Eli Lilly is doing very well. TSMC tied to Nvidia, doing very well too. And then Tesla down number 11. Now, the reason I mentioned Tesla is because bots are coming. I made this post kind of last night on Patreon, but the pace of evolution of bots is absolutely stunning. This is the biggest thing, the biggest revolution to ever hit mankind. The combination of this with AI going to AGI is going to be stunning. I'll see if I can share a little demo as to how far AI has come. But just looking at this list, and many believe many bots are already out in the wild. You've got many bots operating in warehouses at Amazon, for example. But they're coming to the fore real fast. And per CERN Basher, shout out to CERN, friend of the channel, Tesla is still the best package right now because they have collaboration between all of Elon Musk's companies, such as XAI, working on large language model technology and AI technology. You've got Tesla's voice command capable cars, the ability for them to learn and read situations live at very high speeds. Then you have the potential of potentially integrating Neuralink's brain-computer interface, what they call BCI technology, as well as Tesla's manufacturing process prowess that cannot be touched. Now, what's interesting about this list, we've seen little demos from things like Figure AI and 1X technologies that have been very impressive. But the key is Tesla's there number 2, and Figure AI is number 1. But autonomous work will be key. And can Figure AI scale? And does Figure AI have all the tools? We're not sure. And then the other thing that's very important to notice is 7 of these companies are Chinese on this list. The Chinese know how important this is. They are throwing the kitchen sink at investing in this new bot technology, which is massive. And it's really, really, really big. So let me see if I can take a second and just share kind of where we are with AI, because this is a stunning, absolutely stunning demo. Let me see if I can pop. Thank you for waiting. I'm just going to press play on this and you watch for a second. There's no music or anything else, but what's stunning about this is these puppies. It's all AI generated. And the detail of hair, somebody said somewhere that doing hair in AI is the hardest thing to do. This could be a movie of, I don't know, an adventure movie. You no longer need a set or a vehicle or a stuntman. You can have AI create everything, and it's really, really very, very impressive as far as I'm concerned. And then they have another scene where I think walking through Japan in the winter, etc. But look at this. These are little humans walking here. Completely AI generated off a script. Please develop me a scene of the coast of, say, Amalfi Coast in Italy or somewhere, with people walking around at sunset, I don't know, at a special tower, and it'll pop it all up live. The detail is stunning, and you could have virtual tours of your favorite gallery anywhere in the world. And the lifelike nature of this is mind-blowing. I think the most impressive part, though, is, I think it was walking in the snow in Tokyo right here, which is completely mind-blowing. The hair blowing in the wind and the snowflakes and the blossoms flying in the air and all the restaurants and detail. Just look at the level of detail across all of these different areas. Of course, they're walking into a step here, which they have to step over. But anyway, that was, as far as I'm concerned, very mind-blowing. And it's crazy. Anyway, I just had to share because I've been talking a lot about how AI is changing our world and how it's coming so fast and how it's going to be 1,600 times better in 2 years. What do you think this video I just showed you means for movie makers, advertisement makers? You know, I read this story once where a group had to go on location with sound engineers and camera professionals and vehicles and all this stuff to record footage for a whole week. You don't need to do that anymore. It's gone. It's just like writers are gone. Anyway, the world is just changing very fast. For me, it's mind-blowing. Anyway, never done that before, but I hope I didn't bore you all too much. I'm just amazed by it. Anyway, speaking of Tesla, back to Tesla. This is one of the main pieces of Tesla FUD is the recalls, which aren't actually recalls, over-the-air updates, but also that electric cars go on fire. And just to put things in perspective, Fords go on fire, not electric cars. This is the list of all the recalls. Shout out to Sanjay for sharing. US vehicle fire risk recalls between 2018 and 2023. 0 for Tesla. 45 for Ford. 37 for Hyundai. 36 for Volkswagen. 36 for Chrysler. And GM, only 26. GM did well there. Mercedes go on fire. They all go on fire. These are all ICE vehicles, not battery vehicles. Anyway. Enough of that. In addition, a little bit of bad news to temper the mood a little bit. Fed rate cuts are moving out to June. May or June. We're not sure when, but the odds now of a rate cut from happening in March are now very, very low. However, we do expect at least 90 to 100 basis points of cuts priced in for the full year, down from about 130 basis points. And that is definitely going to happen before the end of the year, many believe, because the current rate of interest is simply not sustainable. So we'll see where all this goes. And a big thank you to everybody as well. Hope you like the content. And thank you as well to everybody on Patreon. Thank you to the mods in the chat. These are crazy, interesting times. I know I spend too much time talking about AI and transitions and transformations and exponentiality and all that type of stuff, but it's coming. And it's coming really, really fast. So be prepared. Think 5-10 years ahead and position yourself for the revolution that's coming, because it is going to be the most disruptive thing mankind has ever seen in the history of mankind. It'll make the steam engine and discovery of fire seem like a nothing burger. Anyway, thank you all for being here. Hope you enjoy the show. Tomorrow I'll see you live, noon Pacific, for Q&A, which I'm going to work on right now. Thank you.